ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BS with AJ. I'm AJ. I appreciate you guys tuning in so much, spreading the word, sharing the wealth, so to speak, that you get from the show here. Today's November 19th, by the way. It's our Thanksgiving week. I'm excited. It looks like it's very high possibility that Thanksgiving will be held for the family up here that I'm around and near in North Dakota here at my place this week. And that I'm kind of looking forward to that. A lot of people think, oh gosh, that's a lot of work. You're a lot of dirty dishes, a lot of cooking. Going to have all the folks over, a large group of folks in the house. It has its challenges, but I'm kind of looking forward to it because I enjoy the cooking aspect so much. Earlier in the year, I came up with a 4-course meal for my wife for her birthday, and her sister and mother were able to come, and my stepson Carver was there, and it was just a blast. A lot of dirty dishes, and it was all of the work involved, but I enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to do something nice for my better half. And that's the way that I feel about this. It's Thanksgiving. There's a great ham my mother-in-law already purchased. I want to do some dessert. I've got some great ideas for some fall vegetables. Here I am nerding out about food. But tis this time of year. It's upon us again. It has rushed upon us. It surprised some of us, at least myself, when we're so wrapped up in what's happening politically and then all of the other aspects of having a life here in this amazing nation and this amazing time that we live. Time flies because a lot of time we can say we're having fun. It's a fun time to be alive. But as I'm going through this fun time to be alive, and as time is flying by, and this news cycle is as hyper as it is, I've been noticing something recently, and I'm slow. I'm not a tech nerd. I'm kind of slow on this subject. I'm sure there's going to be folks out there who will hear me talk about this and think, AJ, I've already been thinking this for a long time, but it's okay. We all arrive when we arrive, and we're all welcome there. Understanding, that destination called understanding. But I want to ask you, have you noticed how much artificial intelligence has been present in, I've noticed it more in ad campaigns and in advertisements for the companies using artificial intelligence in their different applications, whether that be business or cancer treatment or sales or weather or language, all these other things that are wrapped up in our modern AIs, which aren't true AIs. Some of you know that, but the idea of an artificially intelligent, free-thinking, separate individual with all of the traits and the abilities of the human mind, that's kind of how I enjoy summing up what we want and are striving for with artificial intelligence, and we don't have that yet. We have some pretty amazing computers. There's several of them now. I don't know if you're familiar. Some of and of course we name them because that's what we are wont to do. But we have several. We have IBM's Watson, which most of us, that's probably the biggest one we would have heard of, created to defeat some Jeopardy folks and has since gone on to become, it's on my, I have the Weather Channel app on my phone, which I use, and it's with Watson, and you see that now when you log on. There's a little symbol and information that says with Watson. Microsoft has their vision. They've named it Oxford. Google has what they acquired called DeepMind. And then there's one that I found in the little bit of research that I did, Baidu Minhua, which is a Chinese equivalent of Google. And they're doing their AI. And then I've seen it, as I say, in ads. I've seen a lot of the advertisements. SAP is a company. They advertise using machine learning and artificial intelligence in their world. And they've named them S4 HANA and Leonardo, just a couple. Some pretty amazing stuff. Now, again, they're not actual artificial intelligence. It's just groups of processors and server banks trying to process as much information per second as possible. And I think Watson's up there somewhere around 500 million, or it's like, what would it be, 500 books a second, or 5 million books a second. Some outrageous number, which is amazing stuff, but it's still not self-aware, it's still not thinking, so to speak. It is still simply carrying out applications that it's been commanded to carry out by a human being. I guess there are some examples of machines coming to their own conclusions. I think it was DeepMind, if I remember correctly, that was given a couple of old-style video games and given the time to learn them and beat them. And it took it quite a while, but it did it, which is amazing. But all of these different notions of what artificial intelligence should do, is doing, can do, will do in our society. It's very interesting stuff. The reason I bring this up is because what I've noticed, and you might have noticed this as well, we've talked about Google and Yahoo and different Microsoft, all of them different data mining operations, and how we've been told that our emails and the sites that we visit and the habits, the things that we do online with our devices, those are all tracked and used to direct and target ads for us and those kinds of things. And some folks say, no, whatever, or it's okay, sure, do it. Some folks maybe haven't experienced it yet, but I have been noticing it. And it's one thing to see an ad pop up on Facebook every once in a while, but here's my story on when this was really driven home to me. My wife was gone doing a trade show with her business, the Regain Beauty Products, and I was home for a good 3 days. It was almost 3 complete days. And during that time, I sat down. There was a televised Pittsburgh Penguins game. Massive fan of the Penguins, 25-year fan. Go Pens. But I sat down to watch the game, and I had my cell phone sitting in front of me on the coffee table. And during the course of that game, now, I'll be totally upfront, I have purchased Penguins gear from NHL.com, Fans Edge, that whole deal. So it's not necessarily uncommon for me to get a sales email trying to convince me that now's the time, the sale they're having is the time for me to buy again. But what took place during this game was 6 emails. From the time the game started to the time the game was over, I received 6 emails from those 2 websites telling me about their offers. And they were most times the exact same email, or at least the exact same heading and description on the face of my iPhone. 6 times. And so I knew it's beyond doubt that the phone was sitting on the table and is hearing the NHL on NBC or the NHL this or other NHL.com commercials, hearing me make comments, hearing the television refer to the game and all of its entities and connections and sponsors and advertisers throughout. And it was through what I had already, and there's my West Virginia accent coming out, what I'd already subscribed to or worked with, the entities that I already had contact with, were then able to send me emails to try to convince me that now is the time to buy. Now, some people may not have a problem with that. I get that. For me, the way that I experienced it then was, you know what? We really are monitored. Even though there's not an artificial intelligence out there right now that's taking it all in and understanding it and becoming its own godlike brain, that's not what's taking place. But what is happening is that our machines are finding ways to interact with us based on our habits, based on our activities, our environments, our conversations, our surfing, as we used to say, surfing the web back in the day. And it's real. And right now it's centered around marketing and PR and sales and selling and financial kind of subjects and contexts. But in the future, I think that's one of the changes that we're going to see. It's not going to be just about parting us with our money or from our money. It's going to be about combating our ideas, changing our minds, challenging us, calling us out, identifying things that an artificial intelligence or an algorithm has figured out that we've done. Let's describe it this way, an app that will have discussions with you at the end of your day about your physical activity and your diet and the conversations that you had. Right? Isn't this possible? Of course it's possible. To me, it's likely. Maybe a way to describe it would be life coaches, where apps and artificial intelligences, once they're developed further than we have now, become not personal assistants, but personal coaches and guardians and guiders and teachers and educators, which on one side of it might sound kind of romantic. It's very sci-fi and wow, what an amazing thing. An impartial, unemotional, logic-based being could be in charge of educating us. And there's something very romantic and kind of cool about that idea. But the problem is that it never seems to work out that way. It just doesn't seem like when we're, as a species, given the opportunity for real kind of spiritual and personal progress, evolution, leaps forward in health and hygiene, it takes a while. It's not instant. It takes quite a long time. And what ends up happening in that time that it takes for us to grasp the power of what it is we've discovered and developed, it can be twisted and misused and abused. Just like, as we'll be talking later on the show about power. and how we're being given a direct and naked view of what power does to human beings, males and females, with all of the sexual assault and charges and accusations and misdeeds that have been brought to light recently. But back to this idea of the machines in our lives and what role they're going to be playing. AIs and what role they're going to be playing in our businesses and our social and cultural worlds, but also what's going to happen on the micro level with each of us as individuals with these amazing technologies. By the way, speaking of amazing technologies, have you ever heard of Boston Dynamics? Here's something to do. If you have the time, Google Boston Dynamics. They make autonomous robots. That's their goal, and they've developed many, and they've made some amazing strides forward. Some of the videos of what these robots are capable of doing inside, outside, the different designs, and how they've evolved, because they really have. It's amazing. There's a very short video of a bipedal robot that has figured out and learned how to do a backflip off of a box. It can jump and move from box to box. It's kind of described as a CrossFit routine, but it has learned how to do this, and at the final jump can reverse itself on the box and then do a backflip off and land perfectly. A bunch of other animals and autonomous robots as well. But it's just incredible stuff. And when you look at these posts or videos and you see comments and discussions about them, it's always about the machines taking over the world and killing the humans, and it's all about this kind of Hollywood-driven story of domination and subjugation of the human race to the machines that we ourselves built and created, which is fun. It's cool, and I totally get it. Those misgivings, that little twinge in your gut when you see a robot learn how to do a CrossFit routine with obstacles and a backflip off of a ledge. You recognize the potentials and the possibilities, but it's still something that I find very exciting. It's worth you looking up. Boston Dynamics, autonomous robots. They've got dog-like creatures all the way up to the bipedal human-like creatures. And creatures, hear me? They're creatures. They're not. They're robots. They're just machines and servos and motors and processors. But wait until you see how they move. It's incredible stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to come back and talk about all of this Franken, Moore, Clinton, Tabor, Weinstein stuff. If you're sick of it, fear not. What I am going to pull from this discussion and these events will not sicken you further. At least I hope. That's my belief. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. It's BS with AJ. It's the Talk America Radio Network.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. That's 800-378-2714.
Are you tired of paying high prices for TV channels you don't watch? Of course you are. You want to watch and pay for the channels you like. Now you can take back control of your TV with Dish's Flex Pack. Get over 50 of America's favorite channels for just $39.99 per month, and then add the channel packs that you want. And your TV price won't go up for 2 years, guaranteed. Plus, when you call today, you'll get free standard installation in up to 6 rooms and a free HD DVR upgrade. Need more channels? Dish offers loaded channel lineups from $54.99 per month, featuring over 190 channels, and HBO is included for a full year. And for a limited time, GoDish will give you a $100 prepaid Visa card when you sign up and mention offer code GIFT100. Call now, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573.
Packages, prices, and promotions subject to change. Gift card courtesy of GoDish.com. Call for details.
Boy,
Man, I had a rough night's sleep. Ugh, boy. Whew. I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the Tax Doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the Tax Doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727.
Welcome back to BS with AJ. I am AJ, the host, producer, engineer, editor. All of the hats that must be worn to produce a successful, quality talk show or podcast. All of those duties I follow through on daily, or at least weekly, since we do the show weekly. But I follow through on them daily as well. We talked about, or I said that the next segment was going to be about Franken, Moore, Clinton, all of these sexual allegations, now Tabor, the actor guy, Weinstein, the producer, all of these different folks, Kevin Spacey, on and on and on. The list continues to grow, gets longer every day. Louis C.K., there are more, I'm sure I've forgotten some. But it's become a very, just as every event and every news cycle, every subject that gets covered in the news cycle, it's become one of those tug-of-wars. It's a battle. It's a lot of rhetoric and hyperbole and accusations and anger and hatred and frustration and pontificating and preaching and so on and so forth. And I wanted to draw back from that because I think that's one of the things that causes us to get burned out on the subject and causes it to become less important an issue for us to discuss or even address or to punish the people for all of the above. We get tired of it. We just get tired of it. We get over it. But to me, it's an illustration of a bigger truth. That is power and how power equals the abuse of that power. Doesn't mean that every single person abuses the power that they're given, though it's probably not impossible to argue that you could, because this is a human trait. Here's my angle on this. It's all about the power. It's all about how power equals the abuse of power. And the test of the individual who's given power is whether or not they can keep themselves from using that power. They can avoid the temptation to use it for personal gain, for pleasure. And in this instance, in this context that we're talking about it with Franken or even Moore, all of these others, if the accusations about Moore are true, which I still do not believe that they are. I think it's all a big fake news setup, bunch of crap, but that's my opinion. And it's okay for me to have that opinion. But the temptation that comes along with power for personal gain, for pleasure, for enrichment, for revenge, for abuse, it's always there. And we see it happen all over the place. It's part of, in my estimation, my judgment, being a human being. It's part of our reality. It's always been there. It's not some abnormality for people in places of influence and power to use that to take advantage of other human beings. It's not new. It's not something that came from capitalism and a free society. It's not constitutionally caused. It's not something purely found in America. It's part of human history. It's how it's always been. Powerful people have taken advantage of that power, and they've oppressed and abused and found revenge or avenged past perceived misdeeds. They've used it for personal gain, personal enrichment, for personal pleasure. It's there throughout all of the history of humanity. And this modern version of it is people in the corporate offices and the Hollywood offices, in the military offices, in the political offices, in the comedians' offices, in the manager's office, the casting agents' offices, all of these things. They're ladies and gentlemen, we see it down to the micro level of, it's what I think of as maybe the best definition of a patriarchy, where there's some kind of male in a position of power in a family or a group or a business or an organization or whatever, political party, and they take advantage of it. They abuse their subordinates. They take advantage of their peers and their equals. They connive and scheme and look for ways. A lot of folks call it advancement and ambition. Others, depending on the tactics that you use to achieve your leadership and your power and your influence. That's the difference. If you are pure and good and you don't take advantage, you don't give in to the temptations, then you've earned what you deserve. If you are underhanded and you give in to the temptation to use your power in all of these negative, vengeful, and hurtful ways, then you haven't earned what you've gotten. You have been abusive and taken advantage of your fellow citizens and neighbors, and you've been exploitative of the situations you found yourself in. These are our modern examples. Weinstein, Franken, more. Oh, did you hear? Franken forced to cancel his book tour. Good. In the short term, it saves him some money, but it costs him some money in the long term. But yeah, good. He shouldn't be doing a book tour. We should have no reason to be interested in reading anything he has written. And I would have said this before this. I didn't find him to be that funny of a comedian. And I feel like the kind of jokes that he told, the ones that now have gotten him in trouble, these acts and these attitudes towards what is funny and what isn't, and what's acceptable and what isn't, and what should be joked about and what should not, didn't ever capture me as someone that I needed to watch and enjoy, or could, because it's just, there's not really all that much to it. There are a lot of folks that are just as funny and funnier. He doesn't stand out above a crowd to me as far as his comedic talent, and that's just the way that it was. Apparently a lot of folks in Minnesota, the neighbor to my east, the state that's our neighbor to the east, disagree. That's another story. But all of this, especially with Weinstein, especially with Franken, and if what is true about Moore, or what Moore is accused of, if that's true, then he would be included in this as well. Spacey and the rest of them. It's using their ability, their leverage over people, our giving them leverage over us, to take advantage of and hurt and abuse and take for themselves, above and beyond whatever they should ever have thought was their right to take. And listen, this observation doesn't excuse any of it. That's not the point. I'm just telling it like it is. People that are given power, whether it's in Hollywood or in music or in politics or in business or anywhere, you can be a prison guard and take advantage of your position of power. That's the way that it happens. It's the battle parents face and fight in trying to raise a child, male or female, to not behave in these ways. It's kind of, yes, it ties into that whole raising of the child and the family and the way that we're shaped. Our environments shape us in our growing up, from kids to when we're released upon the world. This is it. This is what we see. This is what defines whether or not someone was successful. I've said this before about Antifa and BLM and the activists and the folks out there hurting people because they have different support for different policies. They have different political ideologies that they ascribe to. So it's time to take out locks and bats and sticks and pepper spray and hurt other people. Their parents should be ashamed. Kevin Spacey's parents should be ashamed. Weinstein's parents should be shamed. Ashamed and shamed. And right on down the list. The person that gains power and uses it, abuses it, takes advantage of it to belittle and abuse and hurt and take from, whether that's dignity or material possessions from another human being, they should be shamed and in some circumstances be punished severely. That's what we've got here. That's what this whole system, I guess maybe system's not the right word, but our country, our society, our culture is based on, that we try our best to raise our kids to be good people. And if they're not, if they grow up to be the criminals, to be the bad guys, to be the ones that go the different direction, we have mechanisms in place to punish them and to cause them to no longer have the ability to do that. Now, whether or not we're successful in applying it, that's what the whole political argument's about. The translation here is this, and some of you may have already guessed where I'm taking this. We need to be able to protect ourselves from people with power. We need to be able to be careful to whom we give that kind of power to, whether it's the power of Hollywood or the power of politics. And that's the kind of, we apply a little bit of that context to our presidential campaigns and our political campaigns. There's not a whole lot of standards and integrity and character that we hold our politicians to. Otherwise, our approval ratings of Congress and our political debate would be completely different. Much higher on the one hand and much more peaceful on the other. And so we know that we don't. But what we're going to discuss in the next segment is how do we protect ourselves from people with power? It's not an easy question to answer, is it, AJ? Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's what we've already been doing for 240 years and doing a better job of it than anyone else. See where I'm going with this? But also, number two, how do we how do we vet our potential leaders? Well, AJ, we do that in campaigns. That's what the press and the media and all of this stuff, free speech and information, all this stuff. Again, I think there's a different answer, and it's not quite so simple. Hope you will stay tuned to hear it. It's right after this. This is BS with AJ. It's the Talk America Radio Network.
The following message is brought to you by Health Markets, your first choice when you need health insurance for your small business. Do you offer health insurance to your employees? Call us now and see if you can save money. Do you want to offer vision and dental to your employees? Call us. Do you think you're paying too much for your current health insurance? Call us. Do you want somebody else to do all the legwork and search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide? Call us. We're Health Markets, and thanks to a little-known solution, we could help your business save thousands of dollars on health insurance costs and save your employees money too. Our service is free. Don't miss the great savings. Call now.
800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. That's 800-472-5145.
Health Markets Insurance Agency is DBA of InSphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., licensed in all states. Product availability varies.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. That's 800-296-1289.
What's your IRS problem? Do you owe back taxes? Is there a lien placed on your property? Have your bank accounts been frozen or seized? Have your wages been garnished? Are you being audited by the IRS? Are they sending you letters that demand actions and have urgent due dates? Well, solving your tax problems is as easy as calling Taxes 321. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. You need the best representation to give you peace of mind. You need experienced professionals that can cut through the red tape and stop the collection process. If you have a serious problem with the IRS, call the Taxes 321 network today. We'll get them off your back.
800-510-0338. 800-510-0338. 800-510-0338. 800-510-0338.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. We left off talking about power, how the abuse of power, and we can include the Clintons, obviously. I think I left them out before. But whether it's the Clintons, Franken, the allegations against Moore, the Harvey Weinstein stuff, all of this current debate all comes down to power and how people abuse it. And the temptation is there all of the time for anyone given any power or influence to use, to enrich themselves. They personal gain, enrichment, revenge, pleasure, abuse, all of those things. It's always there. Whether you are a guitar player in a rock band that gets a record deal and you're nationally famous or internationally famous, on to the movie producer, to the senator, the congressperson, all of them, everybody, every level of society, every level of human existence contains this same context and instance. It's all there. It's part of being a human being. People who have power abuse it. We left off in this segment asking, how do we protect ourselves from that? How do we vet potential leaders? How do we try to get people into these places that aren't going to behave this way? Well, that's been the challenge all along, isn't it? Hasn't it? How do we raise individuals to be adults who won't take advantage of their neighbors and their fellow citizens, who won't abuse their peers and their constituents? Well, first, how do we protect ourselves? Well, by being prepared to deal with powerful people. How? By understanding that they aren't superior humans. They're not above reproach. That we should have a healthy skepticism in our approach to dealing with people that have power and influence. By versing ourselves in human nature, understanding what it means to be a human being, human behavior, and then applying a law of averages. So, for instance, let's take what's in the news. Let's say you are a young actress and you've been granted a private meeting with a big-name producer. What should you do? Well, you take time to consider the possibilities, and you prepare yourself to be disappointed, as well as preparing yourself to be happy and to enjoy it and have it be a wonderful thing. But what happens is we'll swamp our instincts or our desire or our drives to protect ourselves and be ready for something with our desire to achieve or gain something of our own. For instance, the young actress might think, well, pleasing this big-name producer will give me power, which then I can use for my own enjoyment. Well, now we're getting complicated. But here's the deal. This notion that there's never supposed to be anything untoward take place. No one's ever supposed to say anything that offends us. No one's ever supposed to behave in a way that is undesirable. Nothing negative is ever supposed to happen to me. A universal feeling? I don't know. I don't think so. Not to educated folks. But that's another way of describing what our television-driven, entertainment-driven culture has become over the past 3 or 4 generations. People who want to be an actress so bad they'll do anything to get it. Someone who wants to be a rock star so badly they'll do anything to get it. I've known those people personally. Someone who wants to have political power so badly they'll do anything to get it. Do anything to get it. Well, it includes all of the things that we've seen, talked about with this Harvey Weinstein and with this current sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual predation story that's going on. People say, well, everybody knew what Harvey Weinstein was doing. Of course they did. But they were willing to accept it because it's part of what they had to do for their own gain. See, that's that whole underbelly of this. Maybe an explanation for why someone like an Ashley Judd waits so long to come forward about it all, or any of the other folks that have come forward about it all. There's that question in their minds. Well, if I call out this person for their bad behavior, will that damage my own ability to have my own success? That's the definition of power. And so there are a lot of people who understand that definition of power before they go to that meeting, before they find themselves in that situation. But there aren't a lot of people who, when they find themselves in that situation, are prepared to act on that knowledge. When it's a Harvey Weinstein, when it's a Kevin Spacey, when it's someone that's really at the top of the game, you understand the kind of power they have over you, that they can grant you your wishes, or they can make it much, much more difficult for you to achieve your dreams. So how do you address that, AJ? How do you fix that? Well, you don't. Except for, like I said earlier, you try to raise kids and be part of an effort to raise the youngins amongst us up to be aware and to choose to be these kinds of people and to follow these kinds of examples that we've seen throughout human history and that we see today. It's one of those arguments I've made so many times. We're not different than the human beings who were being born and developing and living lives back 2,000 years ago. We're not. We're the same animal with the same organs, the same development physically and mentally. They didn't know why the sky was blue. They may have believed the earth was flat, but they have all of the same tendencies and personalities and traits, and all of these things existed then too. We're not so far ahead of anything. All we have the leg up in is information and understanding. I talked about vetting potential leaders as being another way to avoid these kinds of situations. Before a Harvey Weinstein gets to the top, someone sees it and says, you know what, I'm not going to give him the freedom or the ability to to take this any further. It's not going to happen in my company. Or I'm not going to vote, we're not going to put this guy in office. Or, you know what, we're not going to have this guy be in our band. Or we're not going to sign this band. Blah, blah, right on down, whatever it might be. Being able to understand and see those traits, who it is that we're talking about, and whether or not they should be given the opportunities, the power, the positions, the influence. We do that. That's how it works. We're not always right. We can't know everything. People do a great job of hiding things from us. But what I would like to try to tie all of this into is what we learn when we see human behavior, what we learn when we observe the potential, not the potential, but the political arguments that are going on. This battle of ideologies between the left and the right. This idea of conservatism and the Constitution and individual freedoms. And this idea of state-run, cradle to the grave, nanny government, controlling everything all of the time in the pursuit of some utopia. This debate right now and this observation and all of these accusations about improper sexual conduct, it's all the same thing. It's connected to this idea that we must limit our government, that we must govern ourselves, that we cannot allow individuals or organizations or institutions to gain too much power. We cannot allow our government to be in control of us. We must control it. What we see and what's happening drives that home. That's what's being driven home for me. As I see the newest news reports come out about this guy, Jeffrey Tabor, or whatever his name is, the actor, and whoever's next. This is why we don't give people power. This is why we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights. This is why we have certain guaranteed things we're allowed to do as Americans with our speech, with our religion, with our right to bear arms, with our privacy, with our ownership of land. All of these things, it is that fundamental. When we're talking about a Harvey Weinstein, when we're talking about this current climate of sexual misconduct and all these accusations and all of these things taking place, we're talking about the same thing. The micro and the macro. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We have to be extremely careful, even at the risk of hurting people's feelings and losing friendships and jobs and futures, about who we excuse, who we align, who we neglect or ignore, what bygone we let be what bygone. That is part of the challenge. And it is as simple as, will our Constitution and our Bill of Rights be valued above our ability to be tricked into thinking that our safety, that our feelings, that our emotional moment-to-moment existence is more important than these rights laid out, these protections laid out for us from the government, from the powerful, from the people who would most likely be capable of behaving in these ways that we're discovering they do. That is the idea here. It's very easy for me to make the connection between the power and the influence and the ability to leverage that power and abuse their peers and fellow citizens and fellow human beings connects directly with the importance, the vast importance of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and why it is the thing that we should be talking about again, rather than talking about Trump or this or that or the other. It's about finding a way to return our focus and our attention and our effort to preserving the documents that founded us, the rights that we're guaranteed by our Creator. It's fundamental. And when we get away from our fundamentals and when we start to abandon those arguments and those efforts to stick to the documents that founded us, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, our social makeup, this is what happens. When we stop living according to those rules and laws of self-governance and the pursuit of happiness and honoring what has been given to us here, our freedom here in this country, we end up with a scourge of misbehavior, a plague of bad guys, a disease, a cancer in our society and in our culture and in our politics. And that's where we are. That's exactly where we are. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. This is BS with AJ.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. That's 800-378-2714.
Boy, man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727.
What's your IRS problem? Do you owe back taxes? Is there a lien placed on your property? Have your bank accounts been frozen or seized? Have your wages been garnished? Are you being audited by the IRS? Are they sending you letters that demand actions and have urgent due dates? Well, solving your tax problems is as easy as calling Taxes 321. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. You need the best representation to give you peace of mind. You need experienced professionals that can cut through the red tape and stop the collection process. If you have a serious problem with the IRS, call the Taxes 321 network today. We'll get them off your back.
800-510-0338. 800-510-0338. 800-510-0338. 800-510-0338.
Welcome back to BS with AJ, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Talk America Radio Network. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm doing the show on the 19th, the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Again, during the show, I've received confirmation we will indeed be doing Thanksgiving here this week, so I'm looking forward to that. Some good food, as I like to say, here at the Gaynor household. Did you hear? I'm sure that you did, but there's been so much going on. There's so much news. It's so frantic. The release of the basketball players from the prison in China that Trump arranged, and it came out that was part of what he did during his trip. They're out of that Chinese prison in their home. And the big kerfuffle about it all is that the father of one of the players, refuses to thank Trump and has gone off about it. And I think even a couple of the players are having attitude. But Trump tweeted that he should have left them in jail. And I agree. Indeed, he should have. These ungrateful beasts. And I say that about mankind. I say that about human beings. I think this show, I've been very clear in my view of the human effect, which is most of us can find numerous people and events and behaviors to identify as disgusting. And one of those to me is being ungrateful. When something is done for you on the level that this was, these kids certainly could have rotted in Chinese prisons and for however many years they were given. Hard labor camps, those kinds of things. It's not America. China is not America. That's why they call it China. And that's why people come here illegally. because this is the place to go, not China. I can't imagine the illegal immigration in China. Can't imagine that it's much of an issue for them to deal with. But what a ridiculous thing. You're saved from a future of hard labor, of crushing penalty for something stupid, which, let's talk about that. Shoplifting in a Chinese store as an American citizen. Stupid. I guess another example of someone who thinks they've got power. They're above the law. They can get away with something. Here it is, an example. The stupid kid who does nothing more than throw a ball at a little hoop thought that because he throws a ball at a little hoop, he can steal some sunglasses. What an idiot. Congratulations, institution of higher learning that this student and the others attended. Great reflection on you, isn't it? Great reflection on the high school where this kid and these kids went to school. Great reflection on the parents, once again. And that's what's happening here. The father is coming out and confirming for everyone what a dunce and what an idiot he is. It's not about agreeing with Trump's policies. It's not about becoming a Trump voter. That's not at all what it is. It's about being ungrateful and not being willing or able to say thank you, President Trump, for freeing my son from a Chinese prison. What an ungrateful beast. Just a beast. Many of us, mankind, are beasts. But not myself, and not, I think, the majority of the American public. I really just can't accept that. But shame on him. And yes, President Trump, next time, feel free to do some vetting. Figure out who these people are and whether or not they're going to be thankful for your act. Why not? Just absolutely awful. To move forward, hey, fake news alert of the day. As I say, it's the 19th. I was on Twitter today looking around for different things to talk about. And The Hill, I've mentioned The Hill, thehill.com. And I follow them on Twitter because I want to see what kind of anti-Trump BS is coming from them each time I log on. I'm interested. I'm curious. Because they do have some okay folks working there. But today, this shows fake news alert. The Hill on Twitter on November 19th, 2017. The headline they tweeted, billionaire Russian oligarch docks yacht near Mar-a-Lago ahead of Trump visit. End of the headline. I didn't read the story because the headline tells me everything I need to know. There's some rich Russian that the Hill or that the left or that the establishment Republicans or that the anti-Trump folks feel they can use to further their conspiracy theory about Trump-Russia BS, collusion BS. And so they decide to put it as a headline and put it out there as some kind of news, that a rich Russian who owns a yacht has docked it near Mar-a-Lago, and oh wait, the president's going to be visiting soon. Well, clearly, more collusion. Clearly this backs up the suspicion. Fake news, BS, conspiracy theory crap. Now, but AJ, wait, what if they actually meet? Okay, should the leader of the free world be meeting with business people from other countries? Yes. Well, what if that is a business leader is someone who we find to be a bad guy, the wrong person to meet with? Well, I agree. Probably shouldn't be meeting with them. However, spinning the story, spinning the event to have it feed a narrative is exactly what fake news does on a regular basis. Finding a circumstantial or inconsequential or coincidental fact that might back up that conspiracy theory or gives you something to talk about so that you can put forth your conspiracy theory. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work on me. I'm sure that there's a ton of anti-Trumpers, whether they're on the left or the right, who they're appalled. They just crapped twice and fell back in it because they learned that a billionaire Russian oligarch is going to dock their yacht near Mar-a-Lago ahead of President Trump visiting Mar-a-Lago. Oh, no. By the way, an oligarch, in case you didn't know, is a businessman who is assumed to have stolen or improperly gained from governments and populations in their business to enrich themselves and basically the targets of jealousy and envy. Right? Because anyone who's become a millionaire or built a business or become a CEO or someone rich and powerful, they obviously, they're predatory, right? Right? I mean, it's obviously something to be disdainful of, and it's just so unfair, right? Well, no, that's not what I think. But either way, fake news. The Hill on Twitter. I don't care how many Russian billionaires dock their yachts at whatever port in the United States. In fact, I'm hoping they spend lots and lots and lots of money at American businesses and hotels and restaurants and services, and I hope that Americans benefit in some way from the visits. I believe they will. I believe that we will as a nation benefit from the money spent by people from other countries, whether they're savory or unsavory, visiting and spending and enjoying the luxuries they enjoy. I have no problem with that. It's time for a book to shove in your skull. It's my favorite segment of the show. And I've done this before, but I want to do it again because I get so much joy out of these publications. Rather than a book per se, this is a publication. It's called Asimov's Science Fiction. I also have, on occasion, and will again be subscribing to Science Fiction Fantasy, or Fantasy and Science Fiction, and it's exactly what it sounds like. These are publications that feature short stories, snippets, novellas, chapters of authors, both established and upcoming. And what you get with this is such a variety and such a... well, it's like opening a box of chocolates. You're not quite sure what you're going to get, but you're going to enjoy the process of discovering what it is that you're getting. And that's what these publications do. You will read stories that I would guess, my own experience has been, and I feel comfortable applying this to others, is that you'll end up reading stories that if you were tasked or if it was left up to you to go to a bookstore and try to choose this book off the shelf or find this author and decide to buy it, you probably wouldn't, because you wouldn't know the name or the title wouldn't necessarily speak to you the way that the author hoped, so on and so forth. But these publications, these periodicals, Asimov Science Fiction, there are others, and they're advertised, whether it's mystery or romance, whatever genre you read, there's a publication for it. And it becomes this practice of discovery. And that all by itself, it will yield authors and stories and events and experiences that you will value and you will be glad that you have had. So think about that. Maybe especially here at the holidays for a gift, whether it's Asimov Science Fiction or it's the Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine or Alfred Hitchcock Mystery Magazine, whatever it might be. Check those out because that's how upcoming, hopeful, daydreaming, wishful authors get their start many times. And to be part of that, I think, is a great thing. I think it makes us readers who do that a good guy or a good girl and someone who's helping. So check that out. Asimov Science Fiction Fantasy, all of the above. A periodical that will introduce us, to new authors and new stories and new ideas. Can't go wrong. Watch out for the sexual predators, folks. Be safe. I hope you have a phenomenal week. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll speak to you again in a week. And until then, bye, Earth.